Live? Alright, we look live. Alright, sweet. What's up, everyone? Take KZ back here again. Wanted to do just like a check in video. My videos have been becoming infrequent. Um, I wanted to start, I think I'm going to just do a hiatus on the monthly top 10s. I haven't decided if I'm going to do a like quarterly top 10 um, or just do something different altogether. I've kind of lost the interest and passion in rating matches month to month. Uh, I don't think I even have 10 matches rated in April, even though I've watched more than 10 matches. Um, the wells just kind of run dry on me for that. So I might do more, try to do more show reviews. I might try to do more Dragongate content on the channel. I've been doing the writing about Dragongate, so I've been kind of hesitant to talk about it as well. But I'm just not sure what wrestling content I'm really going to do on the channel right now. Because my wrestling watching is pretty much dried up. I'm only watching Dragongate. I'm having a hard time being interested in other stuff. With the NBA playoffs going on and NBA free agency right around the corner, draft lottery is this Sunday. Main focus is on the NBA, and then obviously writing about Dragongate. So we'll see. I just wanted to give an update of the channel that, like, if you're expecting the April top 10, it's not coming. So I did want to, in replacement of that, I guess, I wanted to talk about Dragongate's big show that just happened a couple weeks ago here, Golden Coliseum. This replaced the Dead or Alive event. It's at the beginning of Golden Week instead of the end of Golden Week. Took place on April 26th instead of the traditional May 5th. Still in Nagoya, but not at Dolphins Arena as that's under construction. So we're at the Budokan in Aichi instead. Opening match was a 6-man tag. Gaja Dokuro, the 3 guys not in the cage that are healthy, taking on really just 3 healthy faces. This match got announced and changed a couple times. It was originally supposed to be Hyo, Benkei, and Luis Monte. Kazuma Kimura was in the 8-man tag later. But Benkei got hurt in the States, so he came over, or he got bumped out of this match. Kimura got bumped down. I thought this was a very fun opener. It reminded me of, I was at Dead or Alive last year live, and Hyo was in the opener against Roya Tanaka, so it was kind of fun to see Hyo in the same spot here, just to remind me of my Japan trip. I thought this match was pretty fun for an opener. With the unit disbands as the main event, it was kind of fun to see Gaja Dokura in the opener as potentially the last time these guys would team together. And then you had the hodgepodge of the faces. The same thing. Hyo was obviously in Love and Peace. He's one of the co-leaders, but Luis Monte and Kimura are unaffiliated. And if Saipatra loses or if Gaja Dokuro loses, there's a lot more free agents and the unaffiliated. And those are 2 of the top guys really ready to join a faction. So I thought it was kind of a fun pairing, even though it didn't really mean much. It's kind of fun to see, the pairing of Ish and Jason Lee and Kai against guys that might become stablemates or rivals in the short future. I didn't rate this, like I said at the beginning. I haven't really been rating anything. This was probably bordering on like a 3. Pretty solid opener. Fun stuff. A bit of a showcase for Hyo before Best of the Super Juniors. Second match, we have the new comedy character Jiro Shambashi. He debuted around November, I think, last year, as a salaryman gimmick. He wrestles basically the second match of every show, so sometimes it starts to get a little old, but they've been pretty good at adding new wrinkles here. He wrestled Jungle Kyona, and they did this as like the best salaryman match, so that she worked like a gimmick that she also worked at the same company. So 2 salesmen wrestling each other, trying to get the approval of their boss. Pretty much a standard Jiro match. The highlights were Kyona's entrance, where she had 2 young boys, Mochizuki Jr. and Roya Fuda, kind of as like her sexy underlings. It was like in reference to some video that I'm not aware of, so forgive me for not knowing the reference. And then the big spot that kind of saved this match from kind of just being dull, run-of-the-mill Jiro match is he did his trademark hit a drop kick and rip his shirt off to unveil his hairy chest. But since he was wrestling a woman and they both work for the same company, it was an automatic disqualification for sexual harassment in the workplace. Um, so real creative, fun way to end this match that kind of salvaged it. Zelda. Yeah, the 8-man tag, kind of get everyone on the card. Old man's match, that it's a staple for all these Dragon Gate shows. BB Holt got hurt, I think, a couple days before this. So originally, Genki Horiguchi and Yusuke Kanda weren't in this match. Punch Tamanaga was teaming with Fuji and Mochi, and then Kimura was on their team. BB Hulk obviously teaming with his Paradox teammates. But with Ben K getting hurt and BB Holt getting hurt, Punch switched over to the Paradox team, and then the team that beat Mochifuji for the All Asia tag belts joined their side here in Genki and Kanda. This is just kind of your standard affair old man tag match. It's kind of a bummer that this is how we used Yamato Doi and Dragon Kid. So they didn't get to show a whole lot here. But these always hover around like 2 to 2.5 stars. This one's no real different. Two of the top guys in Dragon Gate that the company just doesn't really have anything for at the moment is Strong Machine J and Yuki Yoshioka. So they put them in a special singles match here. And they tried to work it like a main event, but there's no heat or story to the match. And they worked it like they're going to have a 30-minute match, but it was in the middle of the card, so then it was only really like a 15-minute match. So, two very talented guys. This match didn't really work. I'd say it's a sub 3-star match, even though these guys can bring a lot more than that. Nothing bad, just a kind of boring, which is a problem Yoshioka struggles with a lot. I think when Yoshioka's really on, he's at the very upper echelon of Dragon Gate, but when he's kind of just mailing it in or giving an average performance, it tends to get pretty boring, and that's what we saw here. So then we get to the business end of the card. I gotta scroll this way here. Business end of the card, opening with the Triangle Gate match. This was a weird kind of thrown together match. So Dragon Gate had a weird April because they had the U.S. tour, and it's starting to be tournament season in Japan. So Kikta is the Dreamgate champion. He's in Champion Carnival in All Japan. Didn't really affect the build for this, but Hyo was announced for Super Juniors. That's coming up in a couple weeks. And then you had the U.S. tour, which really, half the roster was working non-canon shows in the U.S. So you had to figure out where you could fit guys in, and then we had injuries on top of it. So one of the matches that really showed kind of the clankiness of the build for this was the Triangle Gate match. Because you had challengers Manda Ruai and Takashi, who aren't aligned, or just kind of two vets that have floated around. I guess they were both technically Mad Blanky, back when Takashi was Cyberkong. And they had freelancer Koji Iwamoto, which really just problem Dragon Manda Ruai and Iwamoto are Aichi from Aichi. So they're like the local boys. That was the story. They did have the crowd behind them, and this match was better than it had any business being, really. The challengers took it to them. I think Case Slow on Open the Voice Gate said this is maybe one of the worst title matches in Dragon Gate history, just on paper. And they were definitely working against that, and they kind of worked the match knowing that. So the challengers took it right to them. They were aggressive. They were going for the win right away, just with brutal power offense and stuff, which did make this match exciting. It got the crowd behind them. So it was an odd experience where the crowd was kind of anti-natural vibes, which typically doesn't happen. The Vibes guys are starting to build chemistry here. The young guys have been there since January now, so they're starting to mesh as a unit. They're getting a lot of focus in Dragon Gate, even though they're not the top story. But Eiki and Gucci, they really are trying to kind of build up as guys that matter. So this was really just to highlight them. Eiki got the win again here to keep the belts. Unsurprising that they kept the belts. Brave Gate match, you had Roy Tanaka looking for sole possession of second place all time. Most Brave Gate defenses in a reign against UT, the man he beat for the belt. UT is also a Nagoya native, so he got this hometown match just kind of as the hometown boy. I thought that was kind of disappointing because Dragon Kid held the record for second place with 9 defenses. Tanaka got to 9 at the March Korakuen. So it would have been kind of fun to see Dragon Kid try to prevent him from getting to 10 and fully beating his record instead of just tying it. To make matters worse, UT got hurt in the build up to this, so there was really no story at all. UT came in heavily taped, and they played that into the match, which I thought made the match actually really good because it was just a full sprint. UT worked the match as a man with like a broken neck, so he had to get Tanaka before Tanaka got him, because one strike basically was going to put him down, and that's how they worked it. Tanaka was extra brutal, not flashy, and I thought it worked pretty well. UT got to use like his counters and his submissions, and came out like a ball of fire, but he just crumbled anytime Tanaka had touched his neck. So I thought this was a fun match. Didn't get to really highlight the full range of Tanaka, which is kind of a bummer for like a historic defense like this. But it is what it is. I thought the match of the night and the match of Dragongate so far in 2026 was our co-main, which was the title versus title match. Twingate, Love and Peace, Jackie Rita are the Twingate champions. Kage Tora and Suzumu Yokosuka were the Suruyo tag champs from Ryokyu Wrestling. And they just put on an absolute banger. They kind of did everything they had in the repertoire. Jay on commentary has been talking about for about a month now that Jackie Rita are kind of pissed that they didn't get the invite to the U.S. tour because they think they're the best tag team in the world. They really wanted to showcase themselves. And they wrestled this match with a chip on their shoulder, and Kagetora and Suzumu wanted to make sure that they gave them every opportunity to show they're the best tag team in the world. And I thought they did that. I didn't give an official rating on this, but I think I landed like 4 3/4. I really loved this. This kind of represented everything I like about the Dragongate style in one match. If I were to recommend anything, I would recommend this match. They put this match on YouTube for free to try to get eyeballs on it too. I might try to link that in the description after the fact. We'll see. Then the main event, you had the survival cage match. 5 flags on top of the cage. Whoever doesn't get a flag gets their head shaved or gets unmasked. And they had the extra stakes in this one that their unit also gets disbanded. This was very, very story heavy. Not really much of a match at all. Kikta filled in for Big Boss Shimizu, who tore his ACL. So he really didn't have any storyline connection to this match other than just being the leader, Gachidokuro. And they added this band's unit disbands stipulation last second just to give it the extra stakes. So Kikto was the first one out. No real surprise there. And the way they booked this, they didn't book real dissension inside Patra, but Cielo escaped by climbing over the back of Hamari instead of helping him. And then Gachidokuro were the next 2 guys out. So the final 2 were Shun Skywalker and Hamare, which put the big rift in between the 2 of them, which I thought made for like really great drama. It put this match in the most dramatic situation it could be. Hamari debuted and immediately aligned himself with Shun Skywalker. He's never not been aligned with Shun Skywalker in his career until after this match. With them being the final 2, they already knew that their partnership was ended because the unit had to disband, and now they were just fighting to keep their hair, keep their mask. Shun Skywalker has a long history of doing anything it takes in mask matches, and now he had to essentially put down his protege that he's been working with here for the past year and a half. So very dramatic, very drama filled. It was very rewarding as a Dragongate follower and fan. I think as a parachuter in, I don't think it's really going to work all that well. You really have to educate yourself and do your homework on the story and the history between the 2 to really make it work as a parachuter, which I don't think is really worth it. These matches are fun, but they do tend to be story heavy. So that's just kind of the story. If you're not fully locked in on Dragongate, I think it's hard to really love these matches. But overall, I thought this was a very rewarding show as a Dragongate fan. It's been a very bad couple months. I think February was pretty rough. In March, nothing really happened. Yeah, February was ugly. and hard to get excited about. March, nothing really happened, and then most of April, guys were in the States and stuff, so not a whole lot going on. So Dragongate went almost like a full quarter where you're just kind of like, I'm not sure about any of this. This match kind of, I think, flipped the ship, and the subsequent shows, I think, have shown a bit of a change in booking direction. I think if they can nail the story, it'll kind of be worth this journey, because so much of the year and the quarter four of 2025 was the Saipatra versus Gajadokuro feud, which turned more and more into heel versus heel. But the story of Shun Skywalker is, he has had this descent into madness. He's betrayed everyone, which led to him getting kicked out of Z-Brats. And rather than kind of like right his wrongs and turn face, he just kept the guys he could together and just made a new heel unit. And that got stifled, and now, he even lost Hamare, so he's really all on his own. So, the path into madness has kind of reached a brick wall, and he can't keep doing that. Right now, he's out injured, but he was kind of doing work shirt injuries all throughout last year, so it's hard to really take the injury seriously. It feels like it's just a storytelling mechanism. We'll see when he comes back. They have a Korakuen tomorrow night, so he might be back then. We will see, or no, Saturday night, 2 nights from now. So we'll see if he's back there. But the Paradox versus Gachadokuro feud is thankfully over. It was kind of painful to live through, but I think if they can kind of nail the final chapter of Shun and the face turn, it will be a good chapter storytelling wise overall. Just not fun to live through. All right, so that takes care of Dragon Gate, takes care of wrestling. Let's talk NBA a little bit. I did a podcast on Dr. Lariat's show. I got to talk basketball with BJ Bethel, Larry, and Arturo, who I really like. Arturo puts out his spreadsheets and like gambling prediction kind of stuff on Twitter. So it's fun to talk ball with him. He's even more analytical about basketball than I am. So that was really fun. We did a first round check-in. I don't know if any games had come in the last video. So we had 2 major upsets. The Timberwolves just kind of ate the Denver Nuggets lunch, which was pretty surprising for me, even before the injuries, and then with the injuries. They kind of just killed. You can't really call the Nuggets a dynasty. They won 1 title, but I feel like they kind of slammed their window shut. And then the other big upset was the 76ers as a 7 seed beat the Celtics. The Celtics, I thought, were the favorite to come out of the East, so seeing them go out round 1 was pretty surprising. That went to game 7. Everything else fairly chalk. Lakers technically were underdogs against the Rockets, but KD was hurt the whole series, which kind of negated the fact that Luka was hurt. So we move into round 2. Everything's a game or 2 in now. As you saw when I scrolled over, the Pistons and Cavs are live right now. I think the Thunder are going to just run through the Lakers. I wouldn't be surprised if they sweep them. Not only are the Thunder way more talented than the Lakers, but they're also just a terrible matchup for the Lakers. Luka could maybe dig a game or 2 out if he was healthy, but even with Luka, I think it would be a terrible matchup. So I don't think that's going to be much of a series at all. I do think the Wolves and Spurs is going to be a real dogfight. This was a matchup I wanted as a Wolves fan this year specifically because it's the first year that the Spurs are really going to war in the playoffs. And it's always just a tough adjustment, even though their young guys are playing pretty well. It's just deep waters that they've never been to. And the Wolves are all playoff tested guys. I would have felt a lot better about our chances if Anthony Edwards had 2 knees and Dante was still playing. Io's hurt for good measure too, so we really just don't have the guards. I don't think we're quite deep enough. We're having to rely a lot on T.J. Shannon, Bones Highland, Jalen Clark. I like all those guys. In the regular season, it's kind of tough to trust them in the playoffs. And with Wemby, you have to change your game plan so much that going to your second, third, fourth options is a tough. But I think we're gonna make it a series. I think we're probably gonna win Game 3. But I would still probably pick the Spurs to win the series. But I think it's going 6 or 7 no matter what. Um, in Seattle, all my friends and family are mostly Sonics fans, so I always hate the Thunder. I always root against them. So part of me is almost rooting against my team because I don't think, as injured as we are, we could beat the Thunder. I don't really believe the Spurs could either, but I think the Spurs are the second best team in the NBA this year. So if anyone's going to do it, it is them. So I'm torn. I want my team to win, but I also like at the same time I'm like, well, I hope we don't wear them out too much because they got to be able to hopefully beat the Thunder next round. But I don't think anyone's stopping the Thunder. The Thunder, everything kind of broke their way. The Suns had no shot against them. They swept the Suns. I think they're going to sweep the Lakers. And if they get Minnesota, Minnesota's had to go through 2 grueling series against the Nuggets and the Spurs. If they get the Spurs a little less grueling, but they're less battle tested. I got to open the door for Lincoln. I'll be right back. You really came right back in? You just did all that bell ringing for nothing? So yeah. Hoping, fingers crossed, someone can stop the Thunder in the West. I think the West is their best chance, but I don't think it's going to happen. Eastern Conference, the Knicks are up 2-0 right now. Embiid's banged up. And even with a healthy Embiid, I think the Knicks are kind of the clear favorites in the East. They're just kind of the deepest team and the most tested team. The most guys you kind of trust in crunch time right now, which is kind of a weird spot to be with a Karl Anthony Towns team. But I think Towns has exercised a lot of those playoff demons where he's not like someone you love to have the ball at the end, but you don't distrust him either. Anunoby's banged up as he kind of always is, and then you still got Brunson, which three horses is really more than any team has. You know, the 76ers, all of a sudden you're kind of counting on Paul George and VJ Edgecombe, who's a rookie. The Pistons are counting so heavily on Tobias Harris. Jalen Duren's kind of shrunk in the playoffs a bit. I think he might figure some things out, but he just can't really be a go-to guy in the playoffs at this point in his career. And the Cavs just have a lot of guys that shrink. You know, Evan Mobley just can't reach that next level. I feel like Jared Allen kind of shrinks in the playoffs, and James Harden's like famous for shrinking in the playoffs. So it's hard to really trust any of their guys. I think Pistons, Cavs could potentially go 7. I think those teams are pretty even. I think the Pistons survived by the skin of their teeth against the Magic. They probably should have lost that series against the Magic, which would have been very devastating for their team. But I think coming through the fire has kind of actually helped them more than if they just took care of business and beat the Magic in 4 or 5. So I think I would expect Pistons Knicks to be the Eastern Finals. I think the Knicks are going to come out. I'm not sure who really would give the Knicks a better battle. In theory, it's Cleveland. Cleveland has more top-end talent. The Pistons are a little deeper. I don't know if the Pistons are even deeper. But the Cavs just... Of course, that's why the door was closed. The Cavs just seem to shrink more than the Pistons, so we'll see. I think the kind of mirrors the West. I think the Knicks can potentially sweep the 76ers to get to the Eastern Finals, and Pistons Cavs might go 7, which might just wear those teams out. I'm a mute and yell at the dogs real fast. So I think we're on a collision course for Knicks Thunder. That's what I said on the podcast. Roundball Rock review. I can't remember what Doc named it. And then, you know, what's interesting right around the corner, this Wednesday is the draft lottery, and then I think this upcoming off season is going to be really crazy because I think it's going to be when we really have to reckon with the second apron. So I'll put more of a long-term video up for that. I've been watching Yossi Goslin's videos, kind of getting ready for the off season. But once we're closer, maybe even when the finals are happening, I'll start putting together some off season videos because I think those would be pretty fun. All right, I think that covers everything. I wanted to give you guys more of a video instead of just saying like, hey, I'm not doing the top 10s anymore. So talk a little basketball, talk a little Dragongate. We'll see what comes up. I think obviously I want to be more active on the channel. I just don't know exactly what I'm doing with it yet. So expect NBA, expect Dragongate. Hopefully mix some other more stuff in there too. All right, thanks everybody. Bye.